If you can't afford that liquidity premium and you want ready access to your cash on a daily basis, for example, the product we offer has a daily liquidity, then you're better off investing in Ucits.
Pascal, can you please tell me the pros and cons of alternative Ucits?
Sure. A few things. So first of all, the reason why Ucits exists is because a lot of clients want to invest in hedge funds, but investing in hedge funds requires some illiquidity. It means you have to lock in your capital, you can't redeem your money, you have usually quarterly reductions as well. You got less control of assets, and there's no regulatory oversight. So the Ucits framework aims to answer these particular shortfalls of the hedge fund model. So it provides greater transparency for investors. You got greater control of assets and greater controlling oversight from regulatory authorities as well. So that provides, it's safer for investors to invest in Ucits because they get the benefit of investing in hedge funds, but also what they get is much more liquidity. So they can get daily, weekly, bi-weekly liquidity, which is something unique of the Ucits format. So it's a bit of trying to get the best of both worlds, the sort of absolute return from hedge funds, but with the added benefit of transparency and liquidity that is provided by the Ucits framework.
Do the reductions in the liquid alternative space compensate for the alpha attached liquidity premium?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because one of the questions I receive very often is when you invest in hedge funds, especially in Ucits form, is that there are some strategies that in the private format, in hedge fund format, that can't be replicable in the Ucits format. So namely the less liquid type of strategy, distressed securities, etc. There's some restrictions as well in the usage of leverage. You can't use shorts, you have to do them through swap agreements. So all of these restrictions mean that there is some alpha erosion that you're subject to in the Ucits space. So the big question is, are you getting compensated for that alpha reduction by the reduction in fees that you have in the Ucits space? So what we do is we believe that we're in the business of allocating to Ucits managers and creating dedicated managed account in our own portfolios, which we offer to clients. So one of our roles is to make sure that this reduction of alpha is compensated, or even more than compensated, by the reduction of alpha. So for example, we've been investing in one multi-strategy Ucits fund. So what we've realized is that there was some alpha erosion on the credit side because the manager was limited in the amount of credit exposure it would take, the amount of leverage the manager could take, and the limited concentration that the manager could take. So all that means that there's an alpha reduction for that particular manager. But also what we've realized is also typically on the private side, such a manager would charge typically a 1.5% management fee plus around a 20% performance fee. Whereas on the Ucits side, the manager would charge 1%, so no performance fee. Which means if you assume a 10% return, that you would end up paying the manager on the private side 1.5% management fee plus 10% times 20, so 2% performance fee, so that's 3.5%. Versus 1% on the Ucits side. So you end up saving 2.5%, which we believe in that case more than offsets the alpha reduction that we will get through the allocation of a multi-strategy manager. So it's a case-by-case analysis, but that's why it's so important to do the due diligence to make sure that you're getting compensated for that when you invest in the Ucits fund.
So what's the place of Ucits in the client's portfolio?
Yeah. Sure, so I believe that there's a place for different sort of instruments. So if you just talk about the hedge fund space, I think if you can take some illiquidity premium, then you can invest in offshore hedge funds. You're getting paid for that illiquidity premium. But if you can't afford that illiquidity premium and you want ready access to your cash on a daily basis, for example, the product we offer has a daily liquidity, then you're better off investing in Ucits. I think eventually clients, what they will end up doing is having almost an illiquidity budget in the portfolio, saying I don't need that liquidity right away. I can be subject to a quarterly liquidity. In that case, I can allocate to offshore hedge funds. But for my other portfolio, the other bucket where I need some liquidity, I'll invest into the Ucits format that will provide the benefit of decorrelation, lower sensitivity to equity markets and bond markets as well, but also benefiting as well from the daily liquidity.
Well, thank you, Pascal, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Likewise. Thank you.